Most of us go to the supermarket and buy the things that we like, and every now and then something new will hit the market and we get to try that too. Some things we don't think twice about, and most of us generally consider our food safe without any dangers. That might change a little bit after you see what we found that could be hiding in some of your favorite foods. From your everyday basic food such as bread to even that harmless looking pack of chewing gum, you might get a shock or surprise when you check out these 5 products you'll never eat once you know what they're made of. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Bread. Bread is a fairly basic thing. If you make it at home, you add a few ingredients like flour, salt, water, a little oil, yeast, and sugar. Mix it up and throw it in the oven, and in 35 minutes you're melting some butter on it as you get ready to devour it. Those factories that make bread must be following the same procedure, right? It's not known who ended up finding out the truth about this one, probably some overzealous vegan who had to know if what was on the package was indeed what was in the bread. But if you look a little deeper, you end up finding things that are used to make something that shouldn't be there at all. There are always new methods when it comes to making something last a long time on the shelves. You can't mass produce something only for it to go moldy before you ship it. So somewhere along the way of improving flour used to make bread and other bakery items, an additive called L-cysteine is used to improve flour. It's an amino acid and is known as E920, and it's permitted to be used in all bread, cakes, and biscuits, unless it's those whose labels say wholemeal. So far, everything sounds good, because what harm can a little amino acid do? Well, it sounds good until you find out how L-cysteine is made. Traditionally, the stuff is produced using feathers, bristles from a pig, and, hold on to your hat, human hair. It sounds like a joke at first, and a lot of you are probably Googling Snopes right now. It's not known where the hair needed comes from, but one online media outlet says the majority of this stuff comes from China, where hair is gathered from barbershops and other places like hair salons, and even creepy enough, some mortuaries. Even some established news media sites are running with these stories. A look closer, and it does appear that the primary industrial source is chicken and duck feathers. However, and this isn't some bull, human hair, swine hooves, and swine bristles have been identified as sources. Wholemeal bread, anyone? I'll stick with the wholemeal. Number 4. Shredded cheese. Everyone loves cheese, and if you don't, you might be an alien of some sort. Maybe you'll see yourself in a future Top 5's Finest video. But you might change your mind after this if you're a cheese eater. But then again, if we told you that Mountain Dew has a flame retardant chemical in it, you'd probably still keep drinking it. But I digress. Shredded cheese has something in it, and the media outlets went crazy over this. Some even went out and bought cheese to have it tested, where they did indeed find what's called cellulose. So what is cellulose anyway? Why is it in my cheese? Well, for one, it's a very popular food additive, and it's in a lot of packaged meals. One more reason to stay away from packaged meals, and soon you'll understand why. Cellulose is used in many foods to replace the normal fat you would find in things like cheese and low-fat ice cream. It's mostly used to stabilize or thicken some foods and increase fiber content. So where does cellulose come from? Cellulose is made from wood pulp or other plant fibers. We previously said that it was used as an additive, which means that if you tested something, say a piece of Parmesan cheese from the supermarket, it would contain around 8 to 10% of the stuff. But some companies decided to get away with just using cellulose as their cheese. Very good brands of Parmesan cheese are very expensive, and all companies that make them know that if there's a way to reduce cost and increase profit, you add additives. And what might come as no surprise, the sale of cellulose increased as food manufacturers decided to increase cellulose in many products, including cheese and ice cream. Some tests done on cheese in the USA market were showing that 40% of some products were the real thing, where the other 60% was, you guessed it, cellulose. Now, before we go on, some media outlets were saying that cheese was just wood pulp. That part of the story is almost accurate, but mostly blown out of proportion to grab headlines. The big problem isn't cellulose itself, but how much is in an actual product. An acceptable and safe level is 2 to 4%, but some grated Parmesan, like the stuff you get in a can to shake on your spaghetti and pizza, is about 9% cellulose. And even cans that are labeled 100% were shown to have 7.8% cellulose, which is just a blatant lie to consumers. By the way, Whole Foods 365 brand did not list cellulose as an ingredient, but when checked, still had 0.3%, which is probably as close to 100% as you'll get. The moral of the story, watch your cellulose intake. Number 3. Ice cream. Since we're on the path of ruining tasty stuff for everyone, why not give ice cream a bad rap too? It's quite possible that you've heard strange tales and rumors that some artificial flavorings such as strawberry, vanilla, and raspberry could come from an animal's behind. Okay, that sounds pretty gross, and it is, but there's some good news on the other end, pardon the pun. There's an additive out there somewhere called castoreum, and it's a substance that sounds just like it should. Some brown slime that's secreted from a beaver's castor gland, which is located just a short way away from well, right there under its big tail. You get the idea. And we're sorry. Let us clear up the whole how and why anyone even came remotely close to wanting to use this as an additive. Apparently, a beaver's butt just smells nice. Don't ask us how we know, we just found out that the little guys have terrible eyesight, and so they use this stuff to mark their territory and attract potential mates. The stuff is also used to waterproof their fur. So how did it get into ice cream? Well, because of its scent, castoreum has been used in making perfumes and food additives for at least 80 years. It's been used in more than just ice cream and enhances the flavors of vanilla, raspberry, and strawberry that's used in everything, including gelatin, candy, yogurt, flavored iced teas, and other drinks. However, we said we had some good news. And yes, it is true that this stuff was used. However, in today's manufacturing world, it can be hard to milk a beaver. So it's likely that you won't ever find this stuff in a product. But that's not to say there isn't a chance that you might still get some of that additive somewhere. There's a handbook out there called Fenaroli's Handbook of Flavor Ingredients that talks about food ingredients and how much is in the food supply and how much of that food is consumed. The total of castoreum liquid and extract consumption is only around 292 pounds. When you talk about consumption, that's less than 1/1,000,000th of a pound for each person in the United States. Well, you need something to compare that with, and the same book gives a figure that 20 million pounds of vanilla are harvested naturally from vanilla beans every year. So you can probably rest easy. Or at least find out on your own if your favorite ice cream includes a taste of the wild. Blech. Number 2. Ground beef. This is a story that just keeps on giving, no matter how many times you might have heard about it. No, we aren't just talking about ground beef, we're talking about the additive called pink slime, which is still used in supermarkets that package ground beef for sale to consumers. For those of you who don't know what pink slime is, let us throw you a little refresher course in case you missed the memo or forgot some of the details. The industry refers to pink slime as, quote, lean, finely textured beef. That's a lot better sounding than pink slime, but that's exactly what the stuff is. A news channel who goes by the call sign ABC first broke the story in 2012. When people saw this, they were of course shocked and dismayed that they were buying pink slime and not actual ground beef. In fact, this stuff was found in 70% of all ground beef that was sold in major grocery chains. But before we get to that, just what is lean, finely textured beef? Well, it's a fancy way of naming leftover beef chunks and trimmings which are ground finely and then exposed to ammonia that kills any bacteria. Yeah, we said ammonia. When the story broke about how this stuff was made, 3 plants that produced the stuff were forced to shut down, which meant that hundreds of jobs were lost in the process, and it cost the beef products industry close to $2 billion in damages. But was there something really wrong with this pink slime? Well, you might not think that an ammonia-treated burger sounds real tasty. The USDA says that lean, finely textured beef is safe for consumption, and they added perfectly to that statement. By the way, the term pink slime came from a USDA scientist named Gerald Zernstein, who was basically the whistleblower in the story and previously toured beef products. The industry has a lawsuit against ABC for damages, but it's unknown why a whistleblower had to come forward to let us know what's hiding in our Big Macs. Speaking of McDonald's, you can cross them off your list. Due to the previously mentioned outrage, Mickey D's vowed to stop using LFTB, and so did many grocery chains. But get this, even though sales fell sharply in 2012 when the story broke, by 2014, sales of the stuff had doubled. With that said, there just might be a pink slime burger in your future. You just don't know where unless you ask. Number 1. Chewing gum. You might not believe just how much chewing gum is made every year, but we'll give you a close estimate. It's estimated that 374 trillion sticks of chewing gum are made each year, and it's a highly profitable market. And it should be, when all those colorful packages of the next best flavor and teeth-whitening properties are staring at you in the face in the checkout counter of almost every supermarket and convenience store on the planet shouting, "Buy me, buy me." But what exactly is chewing gum made of, and is it bad for you? No one would think that such a small thing could do any damage whatsoever. You're just chewing it and spitting it out anyway. Well, if things were really labeled as they were, many people might actually stop chewing gum completely. If anyone knows about ingredients in chewing gum, you would know that one of those is lanolin. It doesn't sound bad at all until you dive in deeper and see what lanolin is. To put it mildly yet bluntly, lanolin is a wax-like secretion from the skin of sheep. The glands that secrete the stuff are sebaceous, which means they lie just under the skin and secrete lanolin to keep the sheep's wool waterproof. Lanolin is actually the rubbery substance that puts the chew in chewing gum. Chewing gum was made this way for a long time. However, with the invention of rubber synthesis technology, synthetic rubber is now used as the chewing gum base. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, Americano, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so check it out, as well as our other cool stuff